Tonight, another day, another crisis. This one at the southern border, a migrant camp with thousands of people living in horrible conditions under a bridge in Texas. And that crowd is growing to nearly 15,000 now.
Having thoroughly reviewed the findings of the investigation and the supporting analysis by interagency partners, I am now convinced that as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, were tragically killed in that strike.
A deadly mistake by the U.S. military. The question tonight, how did it happen? And would we have known if not for a media report? And the political divide over vaccines literally spills out into the streets. Tourists from Texas attack a hostess in New York after she asked for proof of vaccination. Great to have you with us as we wrap up the week. The Donlon Report starts right now. Good evening. We do begin with breaking news tonight and the mysterious disappearance of 22-year-old Gabby Petito. Police are now reportedly inside the parents' home of her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. Joining me now from outside that home in Northport, Florida, is News Nation's Brian Enton with the latest. Brian?
Yeah, Joe, police are definitely inside the house. We saw it with our own eyes about 30 minutes ago. This black van rolled in. We're not sure if it's FBI or if it's Northport police. 2 officers got out and they went right into the front door right there. This was so interesting because we've been out here for 3 or 4 days. We've seen no action. The lights haven't been on in the house in 24 hours. I was convinced that Brian Laundrie was not here and was hiding out someplace else. But apparently either him or his parents are here. When police got here, the door cracked open a little bit. The officers went inside and they've been inside for about 30 minutes now, Joe.
Brian, have you learned any more about a couple of key pieces of evidence in this case, namely Gabby's phone and also the van that they were driving in? As I understand it, Brian Laundrie drove the van back to Florida. Is that right?
Yeah. Brian was in Gabby's van and drove it here, parked it in the driveway of his parents' house right here. That's where police came and confiscated it. It's been processed by the FBI. As for the phone, that's an interesting question because just today the police here confirmed that they don't have the phone. And through our work and listening to body camera videos and everything else we've been working on, we have learned that Brian Laundrie didn't have a cell phone. He's been using Gabby's phone. So presumably he may still have Gabby's phone. That might be something that officers are talking to him about right now in the house behind me.
Right. I was going to ask about that, Brian, because I know you've been in touch with the police down there, and we've all been asking the question why they aren't bringing him in for questioning. What is your opinion? Is this an effort for them to go in there and try to get the answers to some questions? Is it a possible search warrant?
You know, when they, so basically what happened before they showed up is there was a group of protesters outside with bullhorns shouting, come out, we want to know what happened to Gabby. So when they first showed up, my first thought was perhaps they're here because the situation's getting tense. They're going inside almost as a protective measure for Brian or for his parents. But now that it's been 30 minutes, I'm starting to wonder, are they in there interviewing Brian? Because if they were just here sort of to settle things down, I wouldn't have thought that would have taken this long. Plus, you'd think they would have talked to this large crowd outside and said, everybody back up, that kind of a thing. So I'm starting to think perhaps they are in there interviewing him, but there's really no way to tell for sure, Joe.
Quickly, before we let you go, Brian, that's the only vehicle involved there? There aren't any other squads or officers?
Yeah, no other officers out here, just the black van, just the 2 officers that showed up. That's all that we saw.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. I know you'll be standing by for us. Let us know if anything develops. We'll be checking in with you a little bit later in the broadcast. Either way, thank you. 12,500 and growing. That's the number of migrants gathering under a bridge in the border community of Del Rio, Texas tonight. It's about 150 miles due west of San Antonio. If you haven't seen the pictures, we shared them on our broadcast last night. And fresh video from today shows the mass of humanity, many of them sleeping on the dirt in squalid conditions, little access to clean water and food. Officials are bringing in portable toilets. Most of these migrants have reportedly come from Haiti, and they're being held in a temporary staging area under the Del Rio International Bridge, simply for the shade that it's providing there to protect these people from heat-related illness. Now, here's the scene captured by a drone that shows the situation 4 days ago. You can see it's crowded, but nowhere close to where it is now. Again, thousands have shown up in the last few days, and the Del Rio mayor says roughly 8,000 more are expected there. That drone video, by the way, is a big reason this story broke. But the FAA is now restricting the airspace, it says, for security reasons. That move will primarily impact news organizations covering the crisis, which will now have to apply for a permit in order to put their drones up. Meantime, the Border Patrol has moved resources and agents to the area to help process people and relieve the backup. Republicans and critics are calling out the Biden administration, which has said very little publicly about border issues, short of Vice President Kamala Harris's trip to Central America back in June. She hasn't been to the border since a brief stop in El Paso on June 25th. That was then. This is now. The system is already pushing capacity with a record number of encounters. Just last month, CBP reported more than 200,000 encounters, putting the number so far this year at more than 1.3 million. Some fear this city under the bridge could become actually bigger than Del Rio itself, a city that doesn't have the resources to handle these kinds of numbers. That's where we start tonight. Joining me now, Representative Nancy Mace. She represents South Carolina, but recently took her own tour of the border to see what's happening firsthand. Congresswoman, it's good to have you back. Thank you for your time. You've seen these pictures in Del Rio. What are we doing about it?
Well, it's obvious to me this is a siege at our border. And when I was down there just a few weeks ago with Senator Ted Cruz and Congressman Chip Roy, I saw firsthand the dire need for us to go back to President Trump's immigration and border policies. Things like Title 42 that allow us to send many of the illegal immigrants back to Mexico, Central and South America. The challenge here is that these don't appear to be immigrants from that area, that they're from Haiti, a totally different problem. But the Biden administration has incentivized this situation and turned a situation into a crisis. We should be building a wall. We should have a Remain in Mexico program, and we should ensure that Title 42 will exist in perpetuity until we fix our immigration crisis.
I want to ask you more about both Title 42 and Remain in Mexico in a minute. But in the meantime, I'm wondering, how did all of these folks, mainly from Haiti, get here, and why are they choosing Del Rio?
That's the million-dollar question I was asking my staff today, is how the heck did they get from Haiti on an island all the way to the border in Texas? And so for me, it's hard to stomach and understand how that happened. But the other question that came to my mind today is, would we even know about this right now had it not been for a drone with the media informing us? I have a lot of questions for the FAA right now, why they're trying to censor the press from reporting on what's truly going on at the border.
What have you heard about that? Is there any reason for this? They say security. Is there any other reason that you've heard, or do you believe that?
I don't believe that as an excuse at all. And I'm encouraged to hear that the Oversight Committee, I believe Republicans are discussing putting a letter together, even a FOIA request to get communications between the FAA and other officials. I want to read those emails. I want to know what was stated and when, and what the true reason was for that, because common sense tells you they just wanted to borrow the media from putting out images of what's now going to be tens of thousands of people in Del Rio.
Let's go back to June, Congresswoman, when critics were asking why the Vice President, Kamala Harris, wasn't going to the border. Here's a bit of what she said at the time.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe.
All right. Without piling on here, Congresswoman, I'm curious why, no matter where you are on this politically, why the administration isn't more out front on this issue.
Well, the interview, she's just so laissez-faire. She's the border czar, and to this date, she's come close to the border, but I don't think Vice President Harris has actually ever visited the border as vice president or as border czar. So, but the laissez-faire attitude, that they don't care that this is happening, the immense strain put on our Border Patrol agents, the spread of COVID, talking to Border Patrol agents down there a few weeks ago, it's not 18, 20% of folks that are coming across the border that have COVID COVID. It's closer to 40% when you actually get in there and talk to people who are seeing it day in and day out. This is not only a national security crisis,
right.
It's a humanitarian crisis, a health crisis with COVID and the Delta variant, and now you've got Lambda coming from South America up here. What are we doing about it? We're doing absolutely nothing.
Well, the vice president was there, to be honest, in late June. But to your point, I get the criticism on that. But why are we kicking this from president to president? Why doesn't Congress finally step up and do something on immigration policy?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a problem, for decades. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats, have contributed to it. We've been unable to work together on any common sense measures to have immigration reform in this country. And if we could incentivize people to come here legally, I think both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, would be very happy with that outcome. Instead, we are incentivizing illegal border crossings to the tune of 200,000 in August. And, when you talk to border agents and you see what's going on, I mean, they're attacking and assaulting our border agents. They're bringing COVID. We need some common sense legislation, and we need both sides to work together. But given the current, I think, political conditions, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Which is unfortunate. U.S. Representative from South Carolina, Nancy Mace, thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Joining me now for a closer look at how Border Patrol is responding to this crisis is National Border Patrol Counsel for the Rio Grande Valley sector, Chris Cabrera. Chris, your area is typically the busiest, if not one of. What was your reaction to these pictures and the video you're seeing at Del Rio?
We're not surprised by it. I mean, the McAllen area is built up a lot more. We have more resources here, so we were able to handle it a little better. Del Rio's they're a lot smaller than we are, so they're really struggling with what's going on. And what I find interesting is the FAA is restricting air access, but nobody's restricting access to our riverbanks. There are people just parading across without a care in the world, and there's nothing we're doing about it. And that's just mind-blowing.
So from a Border Patrol standpoint, what happens to these migrants who are there now? What's the process? What happens?
Well, we're going to do some cursory paperwork, and we're going to release them pending a court date, and they'll just disappear, and we'll never see them again.
Well, I understand some of them, though, will be flown back to Haiti. This is what I don't understand, because I'm not at the border, and I apologize for that. So that's why we count on you. When you have 15,000 people under this bridge, what's the process, Chris?
Well, that's the thing, is it overwhelms the system. I mean, we've been overwhelmed since 2013 when this thing first started. But right now we get so many people in there. We have people flexed in from all over the country, and even this is just backbreaking. We can't keep up with these, so more people are going to get released with less paperwork, and it just seems the administration just doesn't seem to care about it. They're just turning a blind eye to it and on to the next topic.
I want to ask you what we started to talk to the Congresswoman about, and that's Title 42, which allows Border Patrol to send migrants back for health reasons because of the pandemic, and also the status of the Remain in Mexico policy. All of this is sort of tied up in the courts. What are agents being told to do regarding both of those policies?
Right now, nothing has really changed. We're not sending any more people back than we were 2 or 3 weeks ago. Nothing's really been put in place. And if you look at it, we're kind of at the mercy of what Mexico wants to do. Because even though our court system ruled that it needs to be started, that's a whole different country. They're not bound by our laws. And I don't think they're really too concerned about what our president says or what our courts say.
National Border Patrol Council Vice President Chris Cabrera, thanks for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We want to get back to our breaking news now. The disappearance of 22-year-old Gabby Petito. Our Brian Enton is on the scene in Northport, Florida, where police are in the house of her fiance right now. Brian, what's the latest?
Yeah, stay with me, Joe, because this is happening right now. Another police officer showed up just a few minutes ago, and now you've got two officers. Officer, can you tell us why you're here? Officer, can you tell us why you came here to Brian Laundrie's house? Sir, what do you know? Is Brian Laundrie talking?
She's safe. Is Gabby safe?
Did he give you any information on Gabby?
Did you talk to Brian?
Okay.
Where's Brian at?
Okay, so the two officers just came out, Joe. They're now walking down the street, but Brian Laundrie has not come out. So that's sort of the latest on what's happening right here.
Gabby!
Brian, I'm curious, these two officers who came out, they're not in the black van you mentioned earlier, so there are still officers inside?
Where is Gabby?
Yeah, so there are still two officers inside. These appear to be the three officers inside. This woman who's been watching everything tells me. These officers look like they're Northport officers that came out of a Northport cruiser. They're now, look at this, they're at the back of their trunk. Not sure what they're getting, but we know there are definitely still officers inside right now as the crowd, there's 2 in there. Okay, thank you so much. There's still 2 in there for sure. They're at the trunk of their car getting something as the crowd out here is sort of growing. People just really wanting to know what's about to happen next.
Brian, the thing that has made this case so compelling and interesting, oh, look, that appears to be an evidence bag, I would think, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Is the fact that...
Let's scoot in here, Luis, if we can.
Sure.
We're just going to try to get you a good shot here. Because you've got a lot of people around here. I just want to make sure we get a good shot, Joe. This looks like a bag. Yep. Is this an evidence bag?
Arrest Brian! Arrest Brian!
He's going back in the door now. Here we go.
Bring Gabby home!
Okay, can we get a look in the house? Can we get a look in the house?
Laundrie! Where's Gabby?
Is anyone
Where's
Brian?
Gabby?
No.
Where's Gabby?
Okay, so there we go. He's back in the house now.
Yeah, Brian, as I was starting to say there, the thing that's complicated this is the fact that this investigation covers so many states. These 2 were on a cross-country trip in their van, and I know visiting several national parks. The last one she was believed to be at was Teton. What can you tell us about the law enforcement involvement across all of these states?
So we know the FBI is involved, Joe, because we're in Northport, Florida, very small town, smaller police department. They've now got the FBI in Colorado. That's the field office in that area that's investigating, helping them because this has crossed over so many states. We know that Gabby and Brian were last seen in Wyoming. There's also Utah involved, and I think we're actually going to have to move back. So just bear with me because now the police are moving everyone off the front lawn. So we're gonna walk around real quick, Joe. Let's step around, Luis. I'm with you, though, Joe, if you have any other questions.
Yeah, we'll let you go, Brian, and I know you're being pushed back there, but as we said, we will stay in touch with you, and if anything else develops there, certainly let us know, and we will dip back in. In the meantime, we will see you soon. That's Brian Etten live with an update for us in Northport, Florida. Now this.
Having thoroughly reviewed the findings of the investigation and the supporting analysis by interagency partners, I am now convinced that as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, were tragically killed in that strike.
That's U.S. CENTCOM Commander General Ken McKenzie admitting the U.S. killed 10 civilians, including 7 children, during a drone strike outside the Kabul airport late last month. How did it happen? We'll talk about that coming up. And North Korea launches missiles from a train. And it isn't a James Bond movie. How concerned should the U.S. and its allies be? Don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter.
I am now convinced that as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, were tragically killed in that strike. Moreover, we now assess that it is unlikely that the vehicle and those who died were associated with ISIS-K or were a direct threat to U.S. forces.
A little more today from U.S. CENTCOM Commander General Ken McKenzie talking about the drone strike outside the Kabul airport shortly after a terror attack, a suicide bomber who took the lives of 13 service members and scores of Afghan civilians. The question tonight is, how did this happen? And for that discussion, we want to welcome in retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Mark Kimmett and also former State Department spokesman Christian Whiten. General, I'd like to start with you, if we could. We did have intel on the ground at the time. The military is calling it a tragic mistake. That's the question. How did this happen?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure the quality of that intel that we had on the ground. Don't know what that means. But certainly a mistake was here. And I've got to compliment General McKenzie for standing up and taking the blow himself. Look, this is a very complicated operation. The thing that I wondered about is who provided the intel on the ground and who was actually marking the target. This is the kind of problems that we have when we don't have the right people on the ground. We saw with the Soleimani hit inside of Iraq how to do it right. I think somebody needs to do an autopsy and figure out what was done wrong here.
Yeah, I'm guessing that'll happen, General, for sure. Christian, what, to the General's point, does this say about our intelligence? And more than that, what do we do now that we're gone?
Yeah, well, it certainly wasn't good in this instance, and it's not going to get any better without any ability to have direct access to Kabul, to greater Afghanistan. You know, I think the timeline ought to be looked at very closely. You had August 26th when a bomb went off and killed 13 U.S. service members, followed in short order 3 days later by this counterstrike that killed 7 children. I think the administration was putting enormous strain on the military to react, to be seen to do something in response, and frankly, to change the story from the deaths of those 13. And I think we have to ask ourselves whether political pressure contributed to this disaster. And this really is a disaster. 7 children killed, and no ISIS terrorist anywhere in sight. It's a fiasco. It's potentially a war crime.
General, I know this is a hypothetical, but I couldn't help as I thought about this today that we had all pretty much moved on from these 2 drone strikes, assuming there had been ISIS targets hit. But without the New York Times exposing this, do you think the military would have said anything?
Oh, absolutely. I've been in that situation many, many times. The military always investigates these type of operations if there's any question. I saw this throughout my Army career. There's no reason to hide this. One thing we know is sooner or later the truth is going to get out. And the only thing worse than a bad incident is a cover-up behind it. I think Christian, as a former spokesman, would agree with me on that point.
Christian, let's switch topics if we can. We knew France was upset with the U.S. and Australia for getting left out of this new submarine deal we cut. But now the French have pulled their ambassadors from both countries. So the question becomes tonight, how damaging is this with France?
It's bizarre on France's part. I can understand they are upset, but pulling your ambassador this way, I mean, this has never been done, I don't think, by any NATO member, not by France in our 200-plus year diplomatic history. Did France pull its ambassador from China when China crushed freedom in Hong Kong? How about when Iran crushed protesters in 2009 and 2010? How about from Cuba when they just crushed protesters? No, France didn't pull their ambassadors in any of those cases. They just pulled their ambassadors from the United States and Australia because they're upset that their defense industrial complex just got dinged for tens of billions of dollars because Australia decided they wanted nuclear power subs instead of us. It really shows you what France is all about, at least what its government's all about, which is corporatism. It's really quite depressing, actually.
General, the French did have a contract with Australia for these subs. I'm wondering what you make of this deal and what it means in that region, particularly involving China.
Well, unfortunately, I know too much about this, having been peripherally involved. Look, this deal was set up in 2014 to buy a used conventional submarine, a diesel submarine, because at that time, the politics wouldn't allow a nuclear program. The deal was for $40 billion. Now, the defense budget of Australia is $40 billion per year. Over the past 5 years, the cost overruns, the technical overruns have added up to a $90 billion program, and they still don't have a diesel submarine in the water. So the politics were overridden for 2 reasons. Number 1, by the budget, and number 2, by the tactics and the military urgency. A nuclear submarine is echelons better than a diesel submarine. It doesn't have to come up. It's just a better deal. And I'm glad to see that the Aussies stood up and said, if we're going to support the Americans, let's support them right. They're going to buy probably a Virginia-class submarine for 1/10 the cost. It'll be interoperable with us. It will be able to train with us. And unfortunately, the only thing bad about this deal was that it had that horrible word nuclear behind it. And the Aussies got beyond it.
All right, we're going to pivot one more time while we have you both. North Korea launched its second missile this week, this time from a train. I'm sure you've seen this video because it does look like something out of a James Bond movie. Earlier in the week, Kim Jong-un's sister warned of the destruction of ties between North and South Korea. Christian, we'll give you this one first. Do you think North Korea is feeling emboldened by all that's going on right now, or is this just typical saber rattling?
Well, it's a little of each. Actually, North Korea goes through fairly predictable cycles where it acts out, does something that provokes and gets world attention, and then hopes to reap goodies, which it certainly did from the Clinton and Bush administrations. I think Kim Jong-un, the dictator, basically looks at nuclear negotiations between the U.S. and Iran, where the Biden administration is frankly begging for a deal from Iran in Vienna, 6 rounds of negotiations where we're asking them to rejoin the 2015 nuclear deal. North Korea looks at this and says, well, if Iran is going to get the offer of the deal of the century, why don't we get in on this too? The Biden administration has been trying to contact North Korea. North Korea has been sort of offline because it's dealing presumably with an intense coronavirus situation. But as they come out of that, they may want negotiations and they may want a lot of goodies.
General, these are ballistic missiles, not cruise. How concerned are you about this? And let me just give you the last word on what, in your opinion, you think we should do with North Korea.
Well, I think this is an incremental step ahead because the situation with the trains means they're much more mobile, much harder to detect. I think the best thing to do is show strength. Look, the one thing the North Koreans know is that weakness is opportunity. They're seeing weakness in this administration and confusion in this administration, and they're smart enough to take advantage of it. So we ought to show strength. We ought to demonstrate that we're not willing to put up with this, and we ought to get things back into the box in North Korea.
Retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Mark Kimmett and former State Department spokesman Christian White. And it's great to have you both. Enjoy the weekend.
Sure.
Thank you.
We have reported on assaults in New York City, but nothing quite like this. A restaurant hostess gets punched after asking for a vaccine card. Plus, San Francisco has a mask mandate, but you can't tell here. And guess who that is? The mayor. Another politician gets caught. An ugly scene at a New York City restaurant. A hostess got punched and slapped when she asked 3 customers visiting from Texas for proof of vaccination. They got upset, then the attack. 2 coworkers helped break it up, but not before suffering minor injuries of their own. Poor hostess just doing her job. New York has a vaccine mandate for restaurants, but others saying this just shows where we are right now as a nation in this pandemic and the politics around it. Julia Manchester, national political reporter for The Hill, joins us now. Julia, as sorry as it seems, this really kind of is where we are. A lot of people are frustrated. It shows certainly the divisions. It's just sort of COVID politics right before our eyes.
Yeah, it's amazing, Joe. This has really become a bit of a political issue, really, wearing a mask, getting a vaccine. You know, it seems that it's really divided the country, and it's interesting to see how Democrats tend to be more vocally pro-vaccine, pro-wearing a mask, and we see that some Republicans tend to voice some skepticism to that. So it's definitely divided along political lines, and I think you're starting to see this seep into a lot of political campaigns, as well as to rhetoric on Capitol Hill and really in state houses around the country.
Right. Well, and you're not seeing certainly in Texas mask mandates or vaccine mandates. And I think when you're flying out of Texas into somewhere else, it's definitely a different scene. And there's also this, Julia, we wanted to ask you about the mayor of San Francisco dancing in a club where basically no one was wearing a mask. And this is also part of the frustration here with the mixed messages we keep getting with this. And it's also another example of a politician not following their own policy. And this comes in Northern California as well, where Gavin Newsom just survived a recall for something similar.
Right. You're seeing a lot of politicians, whether it's mayors, you've seen some governors, political candidates who have been caught not wearing masks, and it doesn't necessarily match up with their rhetoric. So I think from a political perspective or even a PR perspective, if you are going to be in favor of a mask mandate and really pushing that and blasting your opponents for not being in favor of mask mandates, it's incredibly hypocritical to show up at an event where it's indoors, crowded, or where you're supposed to wear a mask just in general and not wear them. I think what you're seeing is that you're seeing a lot of, Oppo researchers in the political world really get wind of some of these pictures, and they're using them as ammunition against these political figures like the mayor of San Francisco, Michelle Lujan Grisham, the governor of New Mexico, was caught not wearing a mask at a wedding. Now, I don't know what the specifics around that were, whether it was they were supposed to be vaccinated at the wedding or such. However, I think this really shows, though, that the Oppo researchers are on the hunt for these pictures, and they're going to use them against these figures. And it shows what COVID policies and COVID politics have come to, for sure. Julia Manchester, thanks for your time. Have a good weekend. Thank you. So if you don't want to be a Scrooge this year, you might want to get shopping for the holidays right now. Seriously? Yeah, retailers are warning of possible supply shortages for toys and other products heading into the holiday season.
as shipping bottlenecks from China disrupt Santa's supply chain. Walmart and Target are trying to stock up in advance. Walmart adding 20% more inventory, and Target even more than that. And when that's not enough, some retailers are even packing up private cargo ships, and that includes Home Depot, IKEA, and Walmart to make sure their goods get here. A Toy Association executive put it this way, and yes, it's still September 17th. Get out and buy toys now. Britt Beamer is chairman and CEO of America's Research Group. All right, Britt, how much of this is real and how much of this is retailers wanting us to start buying things now?
I'm sure it is real, Jill, in many ways. I have a client, T&T Fireworks, that was struggling to get fireworks in the country by July 4th because they had so many products on ship still when they should have been in retail stores. You know, the problem is, you know, this has been a very difficult year for some retailers, and people like Walmart live or die oftentimes by how strong the retail season is in that last quarter, because, you know, Christmas drives so much of their overall profit dollars. So it's a big deal. But it's even a bigger deal for this group, which is the specialty stores. Because, you know, when you go into a specialty store, you may not get the lowest price, but you're going to get the selection of what you want to buy. If they haven't got that selection of what you want to buy, you soon find out you lose a third of them, or 40% of them even will quit going to your store because you no longer support them in what they want to buy.
Well, what about the other supply chain issues, Britt? I mean, I just heard about, even now we're going through another with paper towels and toilet paper. We've got the semiconductor shortage in that supply chain. I mean, there are all kinds of furniture, I guess, right?
There's no question. Every category we have that has a dependence upon a foreign country is in bad shape. I mean, you look at furniture, I do a lot of research in that industry. You know, there are some manufacturers that have $1 billion in backlog, and they want to get rid of it, but they can't get rid of it until they get the product. And here's the problem. It may not be the furniture manufacturer problem. It may be the fabric manufacturer who supplies the fabric for the sofa. Is it producing product at the same level?
When do you think this...
The other problem is...
Go ahead.
The other problem is so many companies really misjudged this whole COVID thing in the beginning. Many companies actually shut their plants down when they didn't have to in foreign countries. And all of a sudden, when that surge hit them, they just got wiped out because they didn't have the products in the pipeline.
I was starting to ask you, we're out of time here, Britt, but quickly, when do you think this supply chain improves and we get these things moving?
Well, we certainly will probably not get more than 65 to 80% of our products before Christmas on time. The question is will those products be the right products? And of course, the one thing that's good is the apparel industry really is doing the best job of getting products. So apparel won't be the problem, but toys could be a big problem.
All right. We'll shop early. Britt Beamer, America's Research Group CEO. Britt, thank you. And I guess we'll say happy holidays, right? We might as well get that out of the way early, too. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Now, the Biden administration has been planning to begin offering vaccine boosters as early as next week. But today, the Food and Drug Administration put the brakes on that, saying not everyone needs them. Dr. Ali Khan is a retired assistant surgeon general, worked at the CDC for 23 years. Doctor, it's great to have you. I have to admit, I'm not necessarily surprised, but I am confused, probably like a lot of people. How do I know how long my vaccine lasts?
Thanks, Joe, for the opportunity. So the recommendations from the FDA were quite clear, 18-0. So there was no hesitancy at all. So they're saying 6 months after your second dose, if you're 65 and older or have a chronic medical condition that puts you at high risk, those are the people who should get their additional or third dose at this point.
What about the rest of us?
So back in August, the CDC and the FDA already recommended that people who had immunocompromising conditions should get vaccinated. And then the rest of us, we're good to go. I mean, the data is very, very clear. This is currently a pandemic of the unvaccinated. And yes, there will be some marginal incremental improvement if we can vaccinate some of these additional people with a third dose. The real trick here, Joe, is there's 67 million Americans that are not vaccinated. Getting them vaccinated is what will allow us to get this outbreak pandemic behind us, get the mask off our kids in school, and get us out and about.
Doctor, I know that. I get that, and I appreciate that. But for those of us who got the shot, and you say we're good to go, what does that mean? How long? Are we good to go for a year, for forever?
So as CDC gets additional data, we'll see for the rest of us who may be healthy, not younger than 65, how long the vaccine may last. It may last a year, it may last 18 months. That data keeps coming in every day as we see what are the breakthroughs.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, and I know we're sort of learning as we go here. Dr. Ali Khan, it's been great to have you, former Assistant Surgeon General. Would love to have you back.
Thank you.
Also, remembering those who died of COVID, beginning this month, more than 600,000 white flags will fill the National Mall in Washington, D.C., symbolizing the American lives lost to the disease. Each flag carrying a message from loved ones, certainly a somber reminder of the toll this virus has taken on our nation. We're going to take a break. Missing for nearly a week now, the latest on 22-year-old Gabby Petito's disappearance, and also the story her social media tells us and doesn't tell us. Back after this. We are back, and an update now on the breaking news we've been following tonight, the disappearance of 22-year-old Gabby Petito. Let's check in one more time with News Nation's Brian Etten. He's live for us in Northport, Florida. Brian?
Yeah, Joe, it's now been an hour and a half since police went inside Brian Laundrie's house. First, a black van showed up, 2 officers went in, then 2 or 3 more officers showed up, and they're all inside the house right now. Let me step out of the way and show you. We're just watching this door very, very closely to see if Brian Laundrie comes out. 2 interesting things have happened over the last hour and a half or so. The one thing is they came out, they got an evidence bag, and they went back in. The second thing we saw is officers came out and they went to a Ford Mustang convertible in the driveway and started to search the car in some way and then went back into the house. But we're watching it all very, very closely. We'll let you know if anything else develops, Joe.
All right, Brian, thank you very much for the update. A lot of Americans are now familiar with the way Gabby Petito used social media to tell a story about her travels with her fiancé. And it would now appear that story wasn't exactly accurate. Joining me now, TV personality and influencer Felicia Lawrence. And we also have Dr. Jeff Gardere, known as America's psychologist. Felicia, let's start with you. I think this is troubling on a lot of levels because it goes right to what we've talked about with Instagram and the problems that we've heard about how people see this as something that it really isn't. We thought Gabby and Brian had this amazing relationship, but when you see the video of her crying now in this police car, you realize that it's not all as it seems.
Absolutely, and we have to be paying more attention to the role that mental health is playing with social media and certainly what's happening behind the scenes, behind the camera, because social media is a highlight reel for everyone. It's showing the best parts of everyone's life. And so we have to look a little bit deeper and pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes.
It's almost like a marketing tool, and if you aren't showing your highlights, you're not using it right.
Absolutely.
That's the way it appears anyway. Doctor, let's bring you in on this because I think we all knew that Facebook makes us angrier and it's toxic for young girls. And yet now we know Facebook knew it. I guess the question is, why aren't they doing more about it?
Well, they certainly need to be doing much more about it. I find it very interesting. They're saying that they want to be transparent. Well, being transparent after you've been kind of caught out there is kind of disingenuous, isn't it? But they seem to be committed to letting parents know, and they should let parents know, that 32% of teen girls felt bad who were on Instagram. We know that there's increased anxiety, depression, eating disorders that come from being on social media. So certainly it's great that Facebook and their Instagram, distributor or a partner are starting to do things about letting people know what's important as far as being harmful. But now, more than anything, they have to be able to give us more suggestions, more tips, and more warnings as to where social media is good, but certainly where it can go bad.
Right. Doctor, you mentioned a lot of the things we know about that are bad, Felicia, and yet we use it anyway. And it almost seems like we can't quit it.
We can't quit it, but maybe it's not something to be quit, okay? Social media, like many things in life, it has its pros and it has its cons. And so it is also a place for people to connect with their friends and their family. It's a great place for marginalized people to have a voice. It's an amazing place for you to be able to also hear the pros and cons of different ideas that are certainly out there that people need to be studying. So it can be a great place for people to come together and I guess grow and thrive and flourish, but to be aware of some of the downsides. I think that's what was so important with this article and with this information, this research.
Doctor, I don't know if you use the professional diagnosis for this, but do you think people are addicted to it?
I think that they are addicted. Of course, it's not a sort of like a DSM-5 addiction, but it's something where there are certain people who have addicted personalities may latch onto this. It's almost a self-medication, if you will, to try to feel better. But now that we know that there can be harmful effects, not always, but that there can be harmful effects if you're trying to feed some sort of happiness in your life artificially, and it only makes you sadder and sadder, then it really does tell us that there is much, much more that the social media companies need to do in order to prop up, if you will, some of the healthier aspects and to be able to guide parents, guide young people in how to use social media in a positive way.
It's a full-time job almost. Felicia, what do you think this has revealed about us as a society? Did we just maybe think we were more civil and social media has brought out the anger and the division in us?
I think social media a lot of times shows the mirror of who we are as a society. And as I stated before, there are good things and then there are bad things. And to the doctor's point, I mean, you need to be able to monitor and you need to be able to protect your child. And I don't think that we should, it sounds cliche, but I think we do have to remind parents that you need to be talking to your child. You are the greatest influence that they will ever have. And so I don't think that we should still highlight that and make sure that we prop that up as well and inform parents as well.
It is. Doctor, I'll give you the last word on this. Your advice and your tips for parents out there, kids as well, and even grandparents.
Yeah, it used to be a thing where we would say, give the kids as much independence as possible. But we've been through a pandemic. We've seen what's happened, how young people have really suffered through this with increased anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and so on. So more than anything else, I agree with my colleague that as parents, we have to step in, know exactly what our kids are watching, right, what they're part of, and how we can help them have a healthier experience.
That's great stuff. Dr. Gardier, America's psychologist, and it's great to have Felicia Lawrence with us as well, TV personality and influencer. Thanks for your time, both of you. Have a good weekend. Take a look at these photos now from the all-civilian crew of the SpaceX Inspiration 4 mission. The crew posted these pictures on their first full day in space. The crew completed more than 15 orbits around the planet. Spectacular pictures. We're back with our American snapshot, as if that isn't one. Look at that after this. Our American Snapshot tonight, a display of patriotism from the tiniest of Afghan refugees. This little boy being housed on Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, New Jersey. He's one of the thousands of refugees American service members evacuated from Afghanistan last month. A thankful heart and salute during the national anthem to his newfound freedom and a country he can now call home. Great way to wrap the week for sure. Thanks for joining us. Have a good evening and a great weekend. Leland.